सत्यमयी परमे आनन्दमयी चैतन्यमयी सत्यमयी परमे Now keep your eyes shut and just think of a difficult patch you went through in the past, in the faraway past, and looking back on it, you feel that it wasn't really so bad. In hindsight, you can see the wisdom that made it come to pass. Just spend a moment contemplating this before you open your eyes. So how many of us can see a plan and a wisdom in whatever the difficulty it was that came? Or we can't see a plan in it? Can I have a show of hands? How many of us can see a plan in it? So Zahabia, why do you think it happened without going into details in a broad way? You came out of it with much more self-confidence. Okay.
And I think just like the trust that everything works out for the best.
It reinforces that trust that everything works out for the best. Anyone else wants to share what they thought about it? Okay, but we can see a good that comes out of everything, and yet when we come to the next time when we are going through a little bit of a tough phase, we again shake in our faith. Again we get carried away by the appearance of the moment, and again we fall into mind states of anxiety and whatever else. So we have an outer vision which sees with our outer eyes, and it gets perplexed at the randomness of things, at the way things turn out so unexpected, not wanted. Why is this person behaving like that? Why is this not working out? And we have an inner vision which can see the exact reason why everything is juxtaposed the way it is with everything else. We don't see that with our outer vision, but with the inner vision we can see how everything is perfectly aligned. And when that vision arises, we drop our battle with life. When we are looking only with our outer vision, we keep fighting. If we don't have a chance to fight outside, the battle is raging inside us, anger, accusations, whatever else, because we are seeing only a very small part of it. There's that beautiful lines in Savitri, this universe is an endless masquerade where nothing is utterly what it seems. We see a dream fact vision of the truth. We see a phenomenon stands out against dim backgrounds of eternity. The phenomenon is what you're going through, but there's a whole background of eternity which has precipitated it. We don't see that. We are just seeing this person like this, we are reacting. This universe is an endless masquerade where nothing is utterly what it seems. A phenomenon stands out against the dim backgrounds of eternity. We see a part and take it for the whole. So because we are seeing one part of it and taking it for the whole, that part seems random to us, that part seems unfair to us, that part seems like, why is it there, it shouldn't be there, and we are fighting it. But we are taking that one phenomena out of its context of eternity and quarreling with it. So it's going to be a pointless quarrel, right? So we need to invoke the inner vision. Whenever we are unhappy, we are pinning the blame on a person, on a circumstance, on our environment. But we must remember Gurudev's words in Savitri, where he writes that wherever there is ignorance, there suffering too must come. So I am ignorant of a larger context of what's happening, and that's why I'm suffering. But can I really accept that? Because there's such a comfort zone. Grandma, you can come here, you'll get a proper backrest. There's such a comfort zone in blaming people for our misery, right? We are happier doing that. But we can keep doing that, but we'll keep getting more and more miserable. If we want a way out of the misery, it's important to look into ourselves to find that perspective of light that supersedes the perspective of darkness that has overtaken us in the moment, isn't it? So this morning in our yoga class, we did this beautiful mantra, the Mahamrityunjay Mantra. Of course, at one level, it's a mantra to Lord Shiva, but Shiva is nothing, or one aspect of Shiva is the stillness inside us, right? And so Shiva is the higher consciousness, it's the consciousness of truth. So Om Trayambakam Yajamahe, Ambak are eyes, Trai is three. Shiva has three eyes. Now Shiva is a metaphor for ourselves. Our two eyes are the eyes of duality, which the outer vision, which sees life as it is and keeps judging it, keeps quarreling with it. And the third eye of Shiva is the eye of inner vision inside us, the eye of truth consciousness. So when I'm adoring Shiva, I'm adoring my own higher and deeper self, right? And when I'm saying Trayambakam Yajamahe, I am aspiring for that third eye in me to open, to give me that different perspective than the perspective I'm used to. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe. Sugandhim, fragrant with the fragrance of the spirit. Pushti Vardhanam, because that vision is what strengthens me. Nothing else. We've said it 100 times that under any and every circumstance, spiritual wisdom is the only protection you ever have. And you sort of lose that lifeline and that protection when you get overwhelmed by the appearance of the moment, fall into the ignorance of playing the blame game, etc. So, Om Trayambakam Yajamahe, Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam. Urva is a fruit which grows on a creeper that constantly gets entangled with its host. But when it's ripe, it falls off onto the floor. So it's praying to Shiva within me, the deeper wisdom within me, that when my time comes, like the Urva fruit, let me also disentangle from all my miseries and attachments. Yeah? So, Urva Rukamiva Bandhanan Mrityor Mokshiya Mamritat. Take me from attachment to things which are in the realm of death and decay to my eternal immortal self where I'm free. Mrityor Mokshiya Mamritat. Okay? So, it's a very beautiful mantra and it lends itself to what we are seeking today, the inner vision, the vision of totality, which redeems my suffering. Okay, so shut your eyes. Sit with a tall spine, open heart. Enter your heart space and climb to the overhead space. The Mother and Sri Aurobindo tells us that the higher consciousness is always present in the overhead space, but the whole crux of his yoga is about the call and the answer. If there's no aspiration, no call, the consciousness is there, but it cannot descend. So sometimes misery can push me to a moment of intensely calling to the light. That call to the overhead space, the higher consciousness, to give me the vision of totality, to see that everything is perfectly ordered. The chaos of life has a perfect veiled order to it, that everything is part of the plan. So can I drop my judgments about it and wait for that higher vision, that third eye, that Trayambak in me to open? So keep that as an aspiration, focusing on the overhead space as we chant this mantra. I'll do each line of the mantra twice, second time with me, and then we'll chant it all together. Triyambakam yajamahe. Triyambakam yajamahe. Sugandhim pushti vardhanam. Sugandhim pushti vardhanam. Urvarukamiva bandhana. Urvarukamiva bandhana. Mrityormukshiya mamrita. Mrityormukshiya mamrita. All together. Om Tyambakam yajamahe Sugandhim pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva bandhana Mrityormokshiyamamrita Om Tyambakam yajamahe Sugandhim pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva bandhana Mrityormokshiyamamrita Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. And inhale, enter the heart space. Climb up to the overhead space. Reach out for the peace that comes with the inner vision. The third eye that opens, giving me glimpses of a truth that I cannot grasp with the surface mind. And when I clasp that truth, everything falls into place. I see that everything is perfectly as it needs to be. I can just step back and allow. And when I do, the universe corrects itself if things are out of place. And I get a perfect understanding of why things are like that in the first place. And with that understanding comes a peace where all my quarrels with life drop away. And slowly open your eyes. So, the question can now come that what about things I don't like in myself, right? Very often my battle is not with the outer world, it's with myself. I don't like my mind states of anger or jealousy or fear, and that's what I find difficult to accept sometimes, right? So here again we have to remember the deeper mechanism of how we function. If we remember about the Panch Koshas, which we've discussed in a previous class, we are made up of 5 sheaths. Okay, the most obvious is the physical sheath, the Annamaya Kosha. Surrounding the physical sheath is your vital sheath, your Pranamaya Kosha. So, the Annamaya Kosha is part of the Pranamaya Kosha, and the Pranamaya Kosha also exceeds it. The Manomaya Kosha includes both these sheaths and exceeds it. So, Manomaya Kosha is bigger than that, right? And bigger than the Manomaya Kosha is the Vijnanmaya Kosha, the wisdom sheath which surrounds all these. And larger than the Vijnanmaya Kosha is the Anandmaya Kosha. Now the Upanishad so brilliantly says that the Vijnanmaya Kosha is guided by the Anandmaya Kosha. And the Vijnanmaya Kosha guides the Manomaya Kosha. The Manomaya Kosha guides the Pranamaya Kosha, and the Pranamaya Kosha guides the Annamaya Kosha. So if you follow this line of thinking, it's telling you that every thought in your Manomaya Kosha, every feeling in your Pranamaya Kosha is being guided by a higher wisdom, the Vigyanmay Kosha. Do you get that? So if the Vigyanmay Kosha is guiding everything that's arising in me, there has to be a wisdom to everything that's arising in me also, right? So does that mean that I indulge every negative movement that arises in me? No. I don't indulge it. I don't suppress it. I just become a witness to it. I watch it with the thought that if it has come, it's come for a purpose. Every movement of fear comes to pave the way for a future strength. Every movement of agitation comes to pave the way for a future peace. So, if I can accept that everything in the world outside is perfectly as it needs to be, maybe I can extend it to accepting that everything that arises in me is also part of a larger plan. And instead of fighting it, I watch it. And when I watch it, I bring consciousness to it. Instead of blaming it, see, in our path, the less the vocabulary of blame arises in your inner dialogue towards yourself or towards other, you're in a more conscious place. So no blame, just faith and witnessing and watching. And okay, if this movement of negativity has arisen in me, I just wait. I wait with faith that if it has come, it's for a purpose. I watch it. And when I watch it, the universe steps in and something gets corrected. The more I fight in, it's my battle. The more I fight it, it's my battle. And the universe can't fight it for me. But more I step back and I just let it be, the more the universe comes in and corrects what's wrong and shows me this is why it had to happen. Okay? So I'm going to read you a very beautiful piece by Partho, my Vedanta teacher. It is not the first screen share. It is, the second one, fear. What is the way out of fear? Partho says, we fear because we have a fragmented experience. And in a fragment always fears the rest of the whole, right? A fragment is always afraid of the whole. A wave is afraid of the ocean will crush it. But if the wave recognizes that it's the ocean, it can't be afraid. When there is Kalyan Shraddha, faith in the goodness of the universe, the cosmos acts for you. On the other hand, when you give in to fear and panic, you become an instrument of the forces of darkness. In moments of crisis, the key is not to harbor any fear. Fear can be replaced by a knowing that the universe is a larger body of the divine, and that fear has no place in it. Whenever fear comes, try only for 10 minutes, step back and say, let the universe take care of it, let the mother take care of it, whatever vocabulary works for you. Transfer the charge of crisis to the divine and observe what happens. The condition is, once you've given over the charge, do not resort to any plan B. It is a surrender that comes from a deeper understanding of your being that this is so. When this faith comes, that if it's come for a purpose, let me see what unfolds, then two things happens. The universe corrects itself. You will magically see that things fall into place once you fall into place inside. Secondly, you will understand the reason for what is happening. Sometimes things may still go wrong. Wrong is in quotes, wrong to your outer vision. But you will get a perfect understanding of why it has to go wrong. And you will not try to stop it from going wrong. When you're not trying to stop it from going wrong, then resistance is gone. And with the resistance, the pain too goes. So simple, no, if we can access it. So coming to the first page, aphorism 26 of Sri Aurobindo. When I see others suffer, I feel that I am unfortunate. You know, when I see family members suffer, people close to me suffer, I feel it's not fair. I feel I'm unfortunate. But wisdom that is not mine, wisdom that belongs to the third eye, sees the good that is coming and approves. So beautiful, no? When I see others suffer, I feel that I'm unfortunate. But wisdom that is not mine sees the good that is coming and approves. So, to the third eye, to the inner vision, that's the vision of the master, beautifully said, no, where others see a caterpillar, a master sees a butterfly, right? We see a caterpillar, we say it's ugly, we want to crush it, we want it out of our life. But we are not giving it a chance to become a butterfly, right? Every ugly circumstance in our life, every difficult person in our life is that caterpillar. If we fight it and crush it, we are not giving it a chance to become a butterfly. Every negative thing in our own consciousness is also that caterpillar. If we are just patient with it, if we nurture it, it will grow into a butterfly, because it's the destiny of every caterpillar in existence to finally become a butterfly. So beautifully said that, but a wisdom that is not mine sees the good that is coming and approves. And the theme of our whole yoga class this morning was these beautiful lines. And if you are to love, love like the moon loves. It doesn't steal the night, it only unveils the beauty of the dark. So if you are to love, love like the moon loves. It doesn't steal the night. If it were to steal the night, it would convert it to day, right? Moon doesn't make everything bright. It doesn't crush something and push something else in. It doesn't steal the night. It only unveils the beauty of the dark. So if you're in a very dark place, that's because you haven't opened the third eye. Now that's a fancy word. I'm not really talking about the yogic opening of the third eye or anything so dramatic. I'm only saying about tuning into an inner vision, allowing that inner vision to arise like a moon, which shows you the beauty of the dark. It's all dark till the inner vision arises. Then you see the beautiful contours, the way ahead becomes visible. Then it's not ugly, it's beautiful. So, beautifully said. And if you are to love, love what? Love everything about life. Love like the moon loves. Don't steal the night. Don't be hell-bent on changing it. Let it be. Just shed a gentle light on it, which shows you the beauty of the dark. Then Sri Aurobindo, Savitri. As through a dress the wearer's shape is seen, there reach through forms to the hidden absolute, a cosmic feeling and a transcendent sight. So it's beautiful. Sometimes if somebody is worn a transparent dress, through the dress you can see the form of the wearer. So each of us is a dress the divine wears. And when our inner vision opens, so that's what it's saying, reached to who? The hidden absolute. The hidden absolute is the divine within us, which has that inner vision. So as through a dress the wearer's shape is seen, there reach through forms to the hidden absolute, a cosmic feeling and a transcendent sight. Why a transcendent sight? When I can see the divine in everything, then I transcend the suffering caused by the appearances, right? If this is God, He's going to take care of it, and there's a reason He's behaving like this with me through that form. I don't react. it becomes a transcendent sight. Then we come to these beautiful words on compassion, and the title of our talk was Compassion, the Butterfly to Come. And we earlier said that if we see ugliness, metaphorically, the caterpillar is something ugly to our sight. We want to crush it, we want to fight it, we want it out of our space. But if we constantly remember that everything is a body of God, is a movement of God, that every caterpillar is a butterfly in the making, maybe we can be kinder to the caterpillar, right? We can be kinder to the ugliness of life. We can be kinder to the ugliness that arises inside us. We can be kinder to the ugliness we see in people's minds. So that can be the source of our compassion, to constantly keep in mind the butterfly to come. So what does compassion mean? Mother says it's a pity full of strength and kindness, a pity that pardons and makes amends, forgets all offenses, and wants always what is best for everyone. It is quite evident that with the amplitude and totality of the vision, there comes something which is a compassion that understands, not that pity of superior for the inferior, the true divine compassion, which is a total comprehension that each one is what he must be. So beautiful. A true divine compassion, which is the total comprehension or understanding that each one is what he must be. Can we really apply that to people in our life, the difficult people, the people who behave badly with us? Can we really take it as a leap of faith that each one is what he must be? I'd like your thoughts on this.
I think it can be done, but the person who is like you got hurt from or says these things is not on the same page.
That's fine. The
So
person will be what the person is.
So then when it's repetitive and it constantly happens, then you ultimately you come to this, but not in the moment.
So Rama, remember what we read earlier? That if you are really, truly in every part of your being in this poise, that everything is a movement in the body of God, and I don't need to fight anything. If I just step back and hand over the responsibility of the crisis to the universe, to Mother, and I don't in my mind also have the slightest vibration that this is wrong, this shouldn't be, then the universe corrects itself. But we have to reach that poise. It can't just be an intellectual thought, and we can't even do it with just our effort. We just have to invite grace to do it for us. Yeah, we have to offer it to grace, and we have to just tell her that give me this vision, give me this poise, hold me in that poise. But we have to ask. I keep repeating that in our yoga, the aspiration and the answer is the most important thing. And Mother says if we don't have an aspiration, we are out of yoga in that moment. We have to have a constant and unfailing aspiration for it. And that's the purpose of pain. We'll keep suffering till something in us really says enough, I want a way out. And that's when the aspiration comes. So, compassion, which is the total comprehension that each one is what he must be. Divine compassion, Sri Aurobindo says, is that which sees, understands, accepts the burden of others and is strong to help and heal, not with self-will and revolt against the suffering in the world, and with ignorant accusation of the law of things and their source, but with light and knowledge and as an instrument of the divine in its emergence. Further, Sri Aurobindo says, compassion of a divine soul overlooking men, embracing all other souls in himself, not the shrinking of the heart and the nerves and the flesh, which is the ordinary human form of pity. Nor does he attach a supreme importance to the life of the body, but looks beyond to the life of the soul and attaches to the other only an instrumental value. Mother's words, compassion and gratitude are essentially psychic virtues. So when we are screened from our psychic, we'll find it difficult to feel compassion or gratitude. When we are connected to the psychic, both of these naturally come. They appear in the consciousness only when the psychic being takes part in active life. The vital and physical experience them as weaknesses. So, if I'm only in my vital and my physical, I'll feel it strong to be hardened, right? I'm not going to get taken away by your sobby stuff. You just, if somebody moans and groans too much, I feel I'm being strong when I'm harshly scolding the person or correcting them, because I'm acting from my vital and I'm acting out of my hardness, because they say when pain comes, pain can make you better or bitter. If you become bitter, you harden. If you become better, you soften even more with pain. When you go through pain, you know how pain feels. You're even kinder to people going through pain. But if pain makes you harden, then other people's pain irritates you. So it's always what Mother says. There's a choice between the height and the abyss, but you need to choose. The vital and physical experience them as weaknesses, for they curb the free expression of their impulses, which are based on the power of strength. As always, the mind, when insufficiently educated, is an accomplice of the vital being and a slave of the physical nature, whose laws so overpowering in their half-conscious mechanism, it does not fully understand. When the mind awakens to the awareness of the first psychic movement, it distorts them in its ignorance and changes compassion into pity. So what's the difference between compassion and pity? A Buddhist teacher, I forget his name, had said that when your love touches somebody's pain, it is compassion. But when your fear touches somebody's pain, it's pity. Pity is you look at the person and think, thank God it's not happening to me. Thank God I'm not like that. I'm scared of being like that person. That's pity. But when your love touches somebody's pain, that's when it becomes compassion. It distorts them in its ignorance and changes compassion into pity, or at best into charity, and gratitude in the wish to repay. Yeah, so our ignorance will distort gratitude into feeling burdened. I'm burdened because this person has done this to me, I must pay it back. But real gratitude doesn't have this barter system. I'm grateful to you without a thought that I have to pay it back to you. But if there is something I can do for you, I'll spontaneously do it. It's not a barter system and there's no feeling burdened. When I'm acting out of ignorance, somebody does something good to me, it makes me feel burdened. And I feel I have to pay it back. Or I feel, I've paid the person back enough, now I don't need to do more. But real gratitude doesn't have this hisab kitab mentality. followed little by the capacity to recognize and admire. It is only when the psychic consciousness is all powerful in the being that compassion for all that needs help in whatever domain, and gratitude for all that manifests the divine presence and grace in whatever form are expressed in their original and luminous purity, without mixing compassion with any trace of condescension or gratitude with any sense of impurity. So we come to the divine law, the law of compassion. According to the law of man, the guilty ought to be punished. Yeah? If somebody has done me harm, the person should be punished. But there is a law more imperative than the human law. It is the divine law, the law of compassion and mercy. It is because of this law that the world is able to endure and progress towards truth and love. So Mother once says that my way of being is not to destroy, my way of being is to transform. Because if I allowed the Kali aspect to come and annihilate, the whole world will be annihilated because there's so much negativity. But my whole being is the way of transformation rather than cutting out. We want to keep cutting people out of our life if they make us miserable. But again and again I say it's not possible, because energetically you're connected to everyone. You can geographically disconnect, but the energetic pull to that person is going to be there, and unless you transform that, just cutting that person out of your life, not talking to that person, it's going to make things worse, because it will create a greater negative pull between you and that person. So just not talking or cutting away or distancing yourself, maybe for a period of time you need that to heal, but as an ongoing thing and as a way of life, it'll have to be changed to something else. Because Siddhi, there's a meaning in every curve and line, no? Your thoughts are also part of that curve and line phenomenon. So depending on your past, this negativity needs to come, and if you bring consciousness to the negativity, to that extent you're freeing yourself of the past. And maybe many times you won't bring consciousness to it because the momentum of the past negativity is too strong. But at some point you will. It will keep coming to you again and again and again, till at some point in your evolutionary curve, you'll be able to bring consciousness to it, or grace will bring consciousness to it, and you'll move forward. You'll react differently to it, you'll remember something. You know, we've said that under any and every circumstance, spiritual wisdom is the only protection you ever have. Some wisdom you'll be reminded of.
So right now, if I have a very bad reaction, I shouldn't judge it as being...
Yes, the more you judge it and the more you feel I'm terrible, the less chance you have of coming out of it. Just say it's come, I trust the universe to handle it. You don't have to hand over the responsibility of just circumstances to the mother. You can even offer your mind state to her. In fact, you should. You have brought it, you have taken me to it, you will take me through it. I'll be as non-reactive and passive as I can, but I mustn't indulge the wrong movement. If I indulge it and justify it to myself, then mother can't act on it, no? Because it's like in one room, darkness and light can't coexist. It's either light or darkness. If I keep justifying those negative movements, justifying my anger, the blame game, then well, I'll go on suffering till I reach a point where I feel it's stupid to justify it. It is not a universal divine compassion either, acting impartially on all who approach it and acceding to all prayers. It does not select the righteous and reject the sinner. The divine grace came to aid the persecutor. It came to Saint Augustine the profligate, to Jagai and Madhai. These are all, Jagai and Madhai are those policemen in the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who used to really trouble people. They were drunks and they were rowdies, and one day when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was having his Kirtan Toli, they came and started throwing their weight around, and when they were doing that, a ball of fire manifested, the story goes, and was going to burn them up. And a close devotee of Chaitanya prayed to him that please stop it, and Chaitanya made that fire disappear. You remember it. And it was part of our ICSE syllabus earlier. And when that happened, Jagai and Madhai were totally transformed, and they became total devotees of Chaitanya, and there's even a monument in the name of Jagai and Madhai. So they are saying that kind of grace could come to Jagai and Madhai, to Bilva Mangal and many others whose conversion might well scandalize the puritanism of the human moral intelligence. We may say, why grace for such horrible people? Well, there's no answer. Grace is for everyone. But it can come to the righteous also. So Sri Aurobindo is saying it's not just that grace will come to the rascals, it will even come to the righteous, curing them of their self-righteousness and leading to a purer consciousness beyond these things. So Mother was asked, what is a divine disgust? Mother says, it is a disgust that's full of total compassion. It is something that takes upon itself the bad vibration in order to cure others of it. The consequences of a wrong and low movement, instead of throwing it back with cold justice upon the one who has committed the mistake, it absorbs it in order to transform it within itself, and diminishes as far as possible the material consequences of the fault committed. I believe that the old story about Shiva, who had a black stain on his neck because he had swallowed all that was bad in the world, is an imaginative way of expressing this divine disgust. It made a black stain on his neck. So, we come to the compassion and sorrow. It is from a state of deep compassion that the divine acts in matter. And this deep compassion is translated in matter precisely by this psychic sorrow which is spoken about here. That is, as though something were reversed. It is the same thing but reversed in this way. Mother joins her hands and then opens them as in an offering. Well, the divine state of compassion is translated in the psychic consciousness by a sorrow that is not egoistic. A sorrow that is the expression of the identification through sympathy with universal sorrow. When one weeps over another's misery, there is always a mixture. So a lot of our hardening comes when we see suffering in ourselves or suffering in other people, right? But when Mother says, when one weeps over another's misery, there is always a mixture. There is a mixture, but as soon as the psychic gets mingled in the sorrow, there is an element of compassion in the reverse. That is what I was trying to explain a moment ago, which comes into the being. And if one can disentangle the two, the compassion and the sorrow, concentrate upon that, come out of one's ego and unite with this compassion in reverse, through this one can come into contact with the great universal compassion, which is something immense, vast, calm, powerful, deep, full of perfect peace and an infinite sweetness. Let me explain this a little more. It's something very important Mother is saying. She's saying that when we see people suffer or we see ourselves suffer, a sorrow arises, right? If it's a person close to us, we feel sorrow. That's in our vital. But if we step back into the psychic, which has a divine compassion, and that compassion comes forward, initially there's a mixing of both. But if we can separate both and twin our consciousness with compassion, so I'll give you an example. I've quoted this story very often. I have a friend who loves animals, and once when she was riding past a little very tiny kitten who had lost its mother, and it was crying for milk. It was hungry, but how does it get milk? So at first, of course, sorrow comes, you feel sorry for the kitten, and then she got out and gave the kitten milk. And her husband asked her that, yeah, but what's the big deal? We don't live around here. We are just passing this way. You've given it milk today. It's still going to get hungry tomorrow. You're not going to be able to come here every day and give it milk. And that's the way of psychic compassion. She smiled and said, today I gave it milk. Tomorrow somebody else will see it and give it milk. So it's not it's like a faith in the universe that I'm not the only one meant to help this person out. I'll do the best I can and I'll leave it to the universe. The universe has hands where my hands can't reach. And that compassion which comes from the psychic is powerful, it's strong, it's without sorrow. It does what it can happily and leaves it to the universe to do the rest. So that's what Mother is saying. And that is what I mean when I say that if one just knows how to deepen one's sorrow, go right to its very heart, rise beyond the egoistic and personal part and go deeper, one can open the door of a greater revelation. That does not mean that you must seek sorrow for sorrow's sake, but when it is there, when it comes upon you, always if you can manage to rise above the egoism of your sorrow, seeing first which is the egoistic part, what it is that makes you suffer, what the egoistic cause of your suffering is, and then rising above that and going beyond towards something universal, towards a deep fundamental truth, then you can enter that infinite compassion. And there, truly, it is a psychic door that opens. So if someone sees me shedding tears, Mother saying, if someone sees me shedding tears, if at that moment one tries to unite completely, you understand, to enter into those tears, melt into them, this can open the door. How beautiful. But of course, we don't have the fortune of seeing Mother shedding tears. But she's saying if we can enter that, this can open the door. One can open the door and have the full experience, a very exceptional experience which leaves a very deep mark upon your consciousness. So the last passage is from Savitri. Against human reason, this is his offense. Whose offense? God's offense. being known to be forever unknowable. We know God, but He's always unpredictable. We expect things to go a certain way, but they'll always go in another way. So against human reason, this is his offense, being known to be forever unknowable, to be all and yet transcend the mystic whole, absolute to large in a relative world of time, eternal and all-knowing to suffer birth, omnipotent to sport with chance and fate, spirit yet to be matter and the void. So this is again what we started class with, that when things are going wrong, we cannot believe that God is in control. We cannot believe that there's a purpose to all my suffering. We cannot believe that there's a higher wisdom which has brought these circumstances into our life. So that's what this passage is saying, that against human reason, this is God's offense. Being known to be forever unknowable, to be all yet transcend the mystic whole, absolute to large in a relative world of time, eternal and all-knowing to suffer birth, omnipotent, all-powerful to sport with chance and fate, spirit yet to be matter and the void, illimitable beyond form or name, to dwell within a body one and supreme, to be animal and human and divine. So he is the animal, he's the animal nature in human beings, and he's the divine nature, and we can't wrap our mind around this, that how can God behave like this in that form? And that's his offense against our reason and logic. A still deep sea, he laughs in rolling waves. Universal, he is all, transcendent, none. This is a very beautiful line. Universal, he is all, transcendent, he is none. Apply it to yourself. Universal, I am all. In my universal God nature, I am one with all beings. And in my transcendent witness consciousness, I am none of this. I am above it. I am outside it. It's a beautiful mantra to learn, because it can help you to not be affected by things that happen in the moment without losing compassion. It reminds you that you're part of all this. Universal, I am all, and transcendent, I am none. And in fact, when you recognize that there's a part of you outside this whole leela, this whole play, you have strength to be more compassionate, because you're less in it. The more you're outside it, the more you can help. Even for people, or I know you love animals, anyone who's suffering, the more I am outside the play of the moment, the more strongly I can help it. If I'm too identified with it, too poor me, poor them, I become weak. I can't help. So it's a beautiful line. Universal, he is all, transcendent, none. To man's righteousness, this is his cosmic crime. To my logic, this is what God is bad for. I can't forgive him, or whatever the dialogues I have when I'm in my low space. To man's righteousness, this is his cosmic crime. Almighty beyond good and evil to dwell, leaving the good to their fate in a wicked world, the evil to reign in this enormous scene. All opposition seems, and strife and chance, an aimless labor with but scanty sense, to eyes that see a part and miss the whole. Exactly what we are saying. To eyes that see only a part and miss the whole, The whole world seems to be like evil is reigning, strife, chance, it's a nameless labor, there's no sense in what's happening. The surface men scan, the depths refuse their search. This is like this to me because I'm only scanning the surface. The depths my gaze can't penetrate. A hybrid mystery challenges the view, or a discouraging, sordid miracle. Okay, so any questions, anything to share about what we've discussed? Anyone, anything? Okay, then let's sit and assimilate what we've done. So sit tall and let's encapsulate the whole talk so that we can bring it into our day-to-day living. So we started with the Mahamrityunjay Mantra, which is an offering to Lord Shiva, and Shiva is nothing but the still space within us, the silence of our deeper and higher consciousness. The mantra talks about the third eye, the Trayambak. Two eyes are the eyes of duality which see only the surface. But the third eye in us is the inner vision that sees the truth the surface conceals. So beautiful that those lines from Savitri, this universe is an endless masquerade where nothing is utterly what it seems. A phenomenon stands out against dim backgrounds of eternity. We see a part and take it for the whole. When we see a part, that part may seem ugly. It looks like a ugly metaphorical caterpillar. But every caterpillar is a butterfly in the making. Everything that seems ugly to us holds in itself seeds for future beauty. If we crush the caterpillar, we don't give it a chance to ever become a butterfly. So compassion arises if we hold in our hearts the vision of the Master, the caterpillar seen as the butterfly to come. And so beautifully said, and if you are to love, love like the moon loves. It doesn't steal the night. It only unveils the beauty of the dark. So, the moon doesn't steal the night. It doesn't change night into day like the sun does. It only unveils the beauty of the dark. So, just think that you're in pitch dark night. You can't see the road ahead, and then the moon comes out from behind the clouds. You see the road ahead and everything gets spangled with the silver beauty of the moon. Any darkness of your life is just waiting for the inner moon, wisdom, the inner perspective of the third eye to open. Then you start seeing the beauty in the dark. You start seeing the butterfly in the caterpillar, the butterfly to come. So, today we encourage ourselves to be compassionate to everything that seems ugly. because there's a higher wisdom that has precipitated the ugliness, and every ugliness is beauty in the making. Sri Aurobindo tells us, when I see others suffer, I feel that I'm unfortunate. But the wisdom that is not mine sees the good that is coming and approves. So let's hold this in our heart. Every time we see ugliness, let me remind myself that this ugliness, this caterpillar, is the butterfly to come, is also a movement in the body of God. Just with that, fold your hands together in a namaste. Take a long, slow inhalation. Breathe out with Om.